ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ministry of Tourism's special interview program, Tourism One-on-One, where we explore topical issues affecting the tourism sector as we tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Kingsley Roberts, your host, and with me today is Executive Director of Jamaica Vacations Limited, JAMVAC, Mrs. Joy Roberts. Good to have you, Mrs. Roberts.
Great to be with you once again.
Today we continue our discussion on the role that JAMVAC has been playing in the COVID-19 recovery effort. Mrs. Roberts, explain for us, what role has JAMVAC been playing in rebuilding the tourism sector amid COVID-19?
Okay, we have, as it relates to the cruise lines, we have been in constant touch with them. We have also been a part of the many committees, the task force. There's a task force set up between the cruise lines and the islands in the Caribbean. The FCC, run by the FCC, which is a Florida Cruise Council Association, and that the Florida Cruise Council Association embodies 33 countries in the region, and also all the cruise lines, the head of the cruise lines that operate in the Caribbean. We met monthly, and every month it was, because we were waiting on the CDC approval, and every month, you know, we slowly moved, the protocols moved, you know, everything was fluid. We're not sure what was going to happen. The cruise lines came up with their own protocols. Countries would have come up with their protocols for the return of tourism, but not necessarily cruise. So we had to be working with the cruise lines. As you know, what would have happened is some cruise lines like MSC would have started cruising in Italy from August last year, and they were very successful at that. So what we found is that some cruise lines decided, okay, let's start going out. So RCL decided that they would go to Israel. Of course, with what has happened there, they've only done a few voyages and then have had to halt. But they were also doing very well. Then we saw the possibility of us being a home port, right? Because not knowing when they were going to get the okay from the CDC in the States, many thought that, okay, why don't we use some of the islands in the Caribbean as home ports? And we got some queries about that, and we have one cruise line, which is a high-end, smaller cruise line that will probably start in September. We have others still pending, but of course, everything depends on our protocols also. And of course, as you know, with this virus, every day, it's a different situation. Today it's one, tomorrow it's something else. Vaccinations are very important. Vaccinations will decide what happened. We are a little behind as an island, as a vis-a-vis some of the islands who are states of bigger countries, like European countries and that sort of thing, who would have, or America, who would have been able to get vaccines, and majority of their islands are vaccinated. But nonetheless, I think what has helped us in Jamaica is, one, the relationships that we continued to facilitate during this crisis, and also everybody is looking at our resilient corridor and seeing how well it worked. And everybody, even with our people not being vaccinated as we would have wanted just yet, everybody has seen what we've done with the resilient corridor and are really very happy with it, and are willing, to work with that resilient corridor.
Right.
But of course, in Jamaica, the Ministry of Health, as it relates to a pandemic, has a final say, or they make the final recommendation to Cabinet. And so as soon as the cruise lines get their authorization, we had some good news yesterday. Today is a good day because the first cruise line that got their authorization to do their simulated sail was Royal Caribbean. And they will be doing that later this month. And I think they indicated to me yesterday that they have now been in touch with the PAJ. So they'll be looking at our protocols. As you know, Royal is a very important partner to Jamaica, we co-own the Falmouth port with them. So we're looking forward to that and what that will bring.
Okay. So how have stakeholders in the cruise subsector then been coping since the onset of COVID-19?
That is not the best subject that I feel it for them every day, because most of them for the last 15 months have not earned a dollar. With the recent, some of the craft markets being added to the resilient corridor, there is some business, but the craft markets traditionally make money from the cruise business, because the hotel guests don't really go to craft markets as much as the cruise passengers. They definitely target there. So that has been a challenge, but we try to work with them. As you know, JCTI through TEF has done some training. We continue to do the training. Also, TEF has been able to, and TPDCO have been able to give them the necessary PPEs that they need to ensure that the market is ready and the vendors are going to be ready when that time comes. But it has been rough for them. Of course, they have been able to, many of them also have been able to get the best and care package. The package is from the Ministry of Finance, but it's a
challenge.
So
it's all the more reason then to try to get the sector back up and running.
Yes, it is important, but to keep within the
guidelines.
Right. Of course, the contract carriage operators, they too have suffered tremendously. We have over 5,000 of them licensed. But between the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Transport, they've waived their fees. We were able to facilitate them through the Ministry of Finance and some of their programs. And the Ministry of Tourism also is now looking at a program through TEF and I think Jamaica National to assist some of them with loans. But it is just a drop in the bucket.
Okay. So looking forward now so there's summer, then you have winter. How has JAMVAC been engaging airline partners?
Well, airline partners, we have most of Europe covered already, because out of the crisis, we had a lot of new countries coming on board, new airlines coming on board. We hear from them, we keep in touch with them, and they have said, look, we're still here, we're coming, some for summer, some are hoping to be here for summer, but definitely winter, we'll have everybody back on board.
Okay, so how have you then been engaging the cruise companies? So I know there's talk about summer, but what about beyond that time frame?
Okay,
talk to us about that.
Well, we have to, the itinerary planning is going to be important. And fortunately for us in the Caribbean, and even more so for us because of our location, you would, when the surveys show that most people don't want to stay far from home. Okay. So, and most of the cruise lines leave out of either Texas, Florida, New Orleans, right? Yes, Galveston, Texas, New Orleans, and Florida, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. So because of that, we are at an advantageous position. However, we have some challenges because Cayman has decided that they are not yet ready to accept cruise. So that poses a challenge with the itinerary planning coming down, but hopefully we will be able to see some activity since the cruises may not be as long as 7 days. If it's 3-4 days, then we're fine without Cayman.
Oh, you're saying, so when one destination pulls back, then it's harder for the cruise lines to plan a schedule.
Right.
Okay. And you spoke about the feedback and the pent-up demand. Talk to us more about that, because some people might be wondering, are people really interested in traveling?
Oh, well, we've seen in most countries, we've seen, well, our competitors as it relates to airlift are Domrep and Mexico. And even with Mexico's challenges with COVID-19, they're almost back up to their 2019 numbers. And DOMREP is about 85% of their 2019 numbers. So there is a demand for travel, and we have seen, based on the GHD survey that has been done with the hoteliers, we see that going into November with looking good here, you know. So there is pent-up demand. I follow on social media all these different, and I see everybody saying they can't wait to get out. They can't wait to get out.
Okay, interesting. So you spoke to us about vaccines. What roles have vaccines been playing in terms of the reopening of the cruise industry globally, and what can we expect moving
Well,
forward?
that is very important. Vaccines are very important. Most of the cruise lines have decided that all their crew will have to be vaccinated. And right now in Florida, the ships have come in and all their crew are being vaccinated. So we know that there will be more than likely 100% crew vaccinated. What has happened, some cruise lines have decided that all their passengers have to be vaccinated, while some are willing to say 95%, 98%. What the CDC has said, if your vaccination of passenger and crew is less than 95%, you have to do a simulated cruise. And that is like a voluntary cruise, and more than likely, these cruise lines have their own islands, so they'll go there to make sure that the protocols, the guidelines that they have set for themselves are, are smooth without seamless, and I'm sure the CDC will be on hand to ensure that they're following the protocols. That's going to be very important to the survival of the industry, because all we want is one challenge on one cruise line, and then it's negative. But it's amazing. As I say, I follow these cruise lines on their social media pages.
Right.
And they have millions of followers. And people can't wait. And they keep on saying, oh, our trip was postponed again, but we're still ready, and they keep on discussing what to do, they got this room, they got that. So people are waiting to cruise again.
Right. They're eager to travel.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Good news. That brings us to the end of our program. Thanks for joining us today, Mrs. Roberts.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
We look forward to having you back on set soon.
Okay.
All right.
Anytime.
Definitely. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in. Take care and see you soon.